This is Stephen Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com. Florida primary will come soon at the end of this month, and it's exciting because this is a new and very different environment. It's a huge state. It is not a typical southern state like South Carolina was. It's got a lot of immigrants, it's got a lot of people from the north, and so it poses a different challenge to the four candidates for the GOP who are still running. Also, there are four of them. We've had 3 events. Each one was won by somebody else. So we've had Santorum win Iowa, and Mitt Romney, New Hampshire, and Newt Gingrich, of course, South Carolina. So the question is, who's going to do well in Florida? Everybody that studies this said this ought to be perfect for Mitt Romney again, because it's a mixed state. It's not so religious as the other states, the first and the third state. And Romney has a lot of money and ought to be able to cover the state with commercials and cover the state with organizers because he and his political action committee have had a lot of money to invest where the other candidates have not. Ron Paul is not really competing in Florida. It's not a good state for him. And Rick Santorum is, and of course, Newt Gingrich is. Mitt Romney has been ahead in the polls, and once again we made the mistake of saying, wow, you know, it's going to be hard to beat him here. This is a good state for him. After South Carolina, Newt Gingrich has gotten a tremendous amount of attention, momentum, and another $5 million for a political action committee that is going to run advertisements and so on for him from this famous billionaire casino owner in Las Vegas. So all of a sudden, there's a bunch of money, a bunch of momentum on the part of Newt, and seems to be paying off. I saw some polls where Mitt Romney has declined and Newt Gingrich has risen. They're now almost evenly matched in Florida, which is very surprising. Newt Gingrich has built his second wind, his second momentum, largely on some terrific debate performances where he went after the media. He just absolutely beat up CNN at one debate, and showed his sort of nasty, angry, powerful personality in South Carolina in the debates, and the public loved it, the voters loved it, and he did very well after those debates. His numbers went way up, and he pretty much won South Carolina, I guess. In the last debate, he didn't do very well. He seemed tired. They didn't give him a chance to really become the attack bulldog that he can be. In this debate, the audience was not allowed to cheer or applaud, and so there was no feedback. So when he said things, he couldn't get a read on the audience, and he was really furious after the debate that the format didn't allow the audience to express themselves. And he said, in South Carolina, of course, the audience was very excited and gave him standing ovations and really pumped him up. He said that he wasn't going to participate in any more debates if the audience would not be allowed to express themselves. He's that annoyed that the audience didn't. Plus, Mitt Romney is now going after Newt in debates, in commercials, and so on, and pointing out much more forcefully Newt Gingrich's weak spots. Basically, he's working for Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and working as a lobbyist. He calls it working as a historian for a variety of companies. And this is the first time that Mitt Romney has become more negative in his debating. Everybody is saying that he has to ramp up his level of intensity and excitement and push back harder, and not just sit back and be the inevitable candidate who's going to win, which is what he was doing originally, because it's not working. He's only won New Hampshire, and he won that because he's the neighbor, he has a house there, he practically lives there, and so that was a no-brainer. But in Iowa, he did okay, but he was beaten by Rick Santorum. South Carolina, he did not do well. He declined and was beaten by Newt Gingrich. And so Florida is now really an important state for Mitt Romney to change his campaign style, to become more exciting, if that's possible. A lot of people are comparing Mitt Romney to Al Gore. Remember Al Gore? They said, you know, when he gave speeches, it was a great imitation of a dead tree or something like that, because it was that boring. And so now we're going to have to see if Mitt Romney's campaign team can do magic and actually change how he campaigns, and if they can take on Newt Gingrich, who at this moment looks like the biggest threat to Mitt Romney. There's another debate. We'll see how that one goes. And then at the end of January, there is the primary on the 31st. Very important primary. On the other hand, not that important, because nobody is going to have enough delegates to get the nomination in Tampa, Florida in August until March or April, because you can't get enough delegates even if you won every single state going forward. Even Super Tuesday with 11 states in one day, not enough delegates. I've said this before, I'll repeat it. No matter what happens in Florida, I think it's going to be a prolonged campaign. I really do think that Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich, maybe Santorum, if he can get enough funding, but certainly Ron Paul, will continue on to the other states and slog on through those and try to win them state by state and start accumulating delegates. And therefore, for somebody like me, and if you're watching this, obviously somebody like you who's interested in politics, this is going to be really interesting, because it's not going to be over on the 31st of January. We're going to have a long period of many months where we can watch these candidates go from one place to another, campaigning, debating, and collecting delegates. And I think it's been a lot of fun so far. I think it'll be very much an exciting marathon as opposed to a sprint race to the finish line. So I'm looking forward to that, and looking forward to sharing all of the stuff that occurs between now and when somebody finally is the last one left standing there, probably in March or April. This is Stefan Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com.